What Pau Cubarsí did at 19 shouldn't be possible.
There's Cubarsi. Can he walk Cubarsi? Oh, he's fielded the keeper and they've scored!
Cubarsi is looking like prime Maldini, brother.
Pau Cubarsí walked into the biggest tournament in football and completely shut down some of the greatest attackers on the planet.
Cubarsi, 19 years old. The guy looks like he's played at 4 World Cups with the experience he's showing.
Cristiano Ronaldo couldn't break him. Belgium's golden generation couldn't expose him. Mbappe's terrifying France couldn't find a way through. And in the World Cup final, Lionel Messi barely had a moment to breathe. Spain conceded just 1 goal during the entire tournament. 1.
This tournament, conceding 1 goal in 8 games? Defense wins you championships, people. Defense wins you championship.
But the moment that changed football history came in the 119th minute.
This brother, when the ball was coming at like 100 miles an hour.
1 defensive play, 1 split-second decision, 1 clearance that may go down as the greatest last-ditch defensive action the World Cup has ever seen.
Pau Cubarsí really has the guts and the courage to not only put in that foot in right there, but to even clear it out right next to his post.
By the end of this video, you'll understand why people aren't just calling Pau Cubarsí the future, they're already calling him the best defender in world football. Spain became the first World Cup champion ever to concede just 1 goal across an entire knockout stage. 1 goal, 7 matches.
On one level, you had the Spanish, who I thought throughout the tournament proved themselves to be comfortably the best team. They conceded 1 goal in the entire tournament.
Say that stat to anyone who watches football, and they'll assume you got the number wrong. Cubarsi's own numbers explain why that happened. He finished the tournament with 96% passing accuracy, dozens of recoveries and clearances, a high win rate in his individual duels, and 7 clean sheets in 8 matches, more than Paolo Maldini managed in his entire World Cup career. When people talk about legendary defensive tournaments, the name that always comes up is Fabio Cannavaro in 2006.
How could we leave without comparisons? I guess you already seen how many people compared him to Fabio Cannavaro, right?
Cannavaro finished that World Cup with 29 recoveries and 84% passing accuracy, numbers that got him the Ballon d'Or that same year. Cubarsi's passing accuracy beat that by 12 points, and he did it while playing a completely different kind of football. One where the centre-back is expected to build attacks, not just stop them. Here's what makes this strange. Most defenders at his age are still fighting to get a squad number, let alone a starting spot on a team trying to win the World Cup. At 19, centre-backs are usually raw. They're still learning when to step and when to hold, still getting caught out by a striker's first touch, still a year or 2 away from starting regularly for their club, never mind their country. Cubarsí skipped that entire stage. He didn't ease into senior football, he walked in and became the anchor of the best defense in the tournament almost immediately. Part of that came from who stood next to him.
Spain have the best defense in the world because Cubarsí and Laporte, first off, have incredibly good positioning off the ball. They're so good at reading the game in front of them. And secondly, dude, their technique is ridiculously good.
Aymeric Laporte brought years of experience and a calm head that let Cubarsí play with total freedom, covering runs, stepping into midfield, taking risks a teenager usually can't afford to take. That partnership mattered.
What Laporte did with Cubarsí was absolutely fantastic.
You feel that he needs somebody like that next to him at Barcelona. That experience.
But partnerships only explain so much. Numbers on a stat sheet only explain so much too. To understand what actually happened this tournament, you have to watch what he did to the 4 best attackers in the world, 1 matchup at a time. The round of 16 put Cubarsí across from Cristiano Ronaldo, still one of the most dangerous finishers the game has ever produced, even in his 40s. Cubarsí never tried to win that matchup with strength. He didn't need to. Every time Ronaldo looked to spin off his marker and attack space in behind, Cubarsí had already closed the gap before the turn even happened.
Cubarsí and Aymeric Laporte, there was no threat. There was no threat from Ronaldo. The threat was going to be maybe the pace of Leao in the wider area, maybe the pace of Neto on the right-hand side. There was no threat of the pace from Cristiano Ronaldo.
Ronaldo kept receiving the ball in worse and worse positions, further from goal, facing the wrong way, running out of options before he could create one. Portugal scored 0 goals. Spain moved on. The quarterfinal against Belgium tested him in a completely different way. Kevin De Bruyne can pick out a pass that most players won't even see. Jeremy Doku can turn a defender inside out with one touch. Romelu Lukaku can shrug off contact that would knock most centre-backs over. Cubarsi's answer to all three was positioning. Whenever De Bruyne searched for his usual line-breaking ball, Cubarsi had already stepped into the passing lane before the pass was played. Whenever Doku tried to isolate himself in a one-on-one, the angle he needed had already disappeared. Belgium still found a way through once, when the goalkeeper's positioning let the ball squirm loose in the box. It's proof Spain wasn't flawless. It's also proof of how rare that one mistake actually was against a defense this well organized. And Cubarsi wasn't just defending that night.
You know, Pau Cubarsí stepping up and taking that shot on is something that Spain should have done more of. You know, Courtois come off, this goalkeeper's come on, he'll be nervous these last 20 minutes, we should take more shots. Cubarsí had the foresight to do it.
Later in the match, he stepped into space outside the box and hit a shot that Belgium's keeper could only parry, straight into the path of Mikel Merino, who buried the rebound for the winner.
Centre-back in terms of goals scored, in terms of shooting from distance, but he's got the confidence, he's got the ability to produce that shot. Keeper should do better, but the winning goal comes from him.
Then came France, and the most frightening attacking line left in the tournament. Kylian Mbappé, Ousmane Dembélé, Michael Olise, Bradley Barcola. 4 players capable of breaking a game open on their own. Cubarsi read Mbappe's runs before the ball was even played. Arriving in the space Mbappé wanted to attack, a full step ahead of him every time. At one point in the second half, Cubarsi picked up possession deep in his own half and threaded a ball over the French defense that released Lamine Yamal in behind. Yamal cut inside, beat his man again, and curled a finish into the net. The goal got ruled out for offside, but the pass itself told you everything about who was directing Spain's play from the back. France didn't manage a single shot on target until deep into the second half. That's 3 of the best attacking lines on the planet held to nothing. One name was still left on the list, and it was the biggest one of all. The World Cup final. Lionel Messi, the last name on the list, and the biggest one Cubarsi would ever face. He didn't just survive that match, he dominated it. Cubarsi finished with more touches than anyone else on the pitch, and more completed passes than anyone else on the pitch. Over 100 completed passes in total. Only one other player in World Cup final history has ever hit that number. Think about what that means for a second. In the biggest game a defender can possibly play, against the greatest player the sport has ever produced, Cubarsi wasn't just holding the line, he was running the entire build-up. He showed his attacking side too. Midway through the match, he stepped forward from the back line and hit a shot from distance that forced Emiliano Martinez into a diving save. The same instinct that won Spain the game against Belgium, showing up again on the sport's biggest stage. Then the game turned. Enzo Fernandez picked up a second yellow card for a reckless challenge on him.
Cubarsi flew, fam. Felt like he was going back to Barcelona. He absolutely flew. It was clear contact, clear second yellow card.
And Argentina were down to 10 men, with the clock still running. Spain had control, but Argentina, even a man short, kept pushing for something, anything, one moment to drag the game back their way. That moment almost came in the 119th minute. Messi picked out Giuliano Simeone with a pass right on the edge of the box, and Simeone drove across in low and hard, right through the middle of the box, dangerously close to Unai Simon's goal line. For 1 second, Spain's entire defense was caught looking the wrong way, and there was an Argentina player arriving right behind it, ready to turn it in from close range, except Cubarsi saw it before anyone else did. He threw his whole body across the 6-yard box and hacked the ball clear a split second before the Argentine player could make contact, crashing hard to the ground right after such a courageous clearance.
You gotta understand the context. This was not a negative cross. It was going towards the goal, meaning the momentum of the ball is already going towards the Spanish goal. And now Cubarsi has to do two things right here. He has to get in front of the Argentinian player and somehow get the ball out. So he gets in front of the player, but look at the angle of his body. How does he not score this in his own goal? The keeper's not even in the goal, and he manages to clear it on his inside shoulder and out of bounds.
He picked himself up off the turf like he'd just thrown himself in front of a car. Commentators are already calling it the greatest defensive play in World Cup history. And given the stage, the stakes, and the man he was denying, it's hard to argue with that. This wasn't a group stage clearance against a team that nobody remembers. This was the 119th minute of a World Cup final, with Messi orchestrating the move, and a 19-year-old got there first. Argentina finished the final with 0 goals. Spain lifted the trophy, and by the final whistle, Cubarsi had done something no defender in the history of the tournament had ever done. He shut down Ronaldo, then Mbappé, then Messi, 3 of the greatest attacking players football has ever produced, all in the same summer, all before turning 20. A teenager who doesn't even have elite height for aerial duels just became a 2-time La Liga champion, an Olympic gold medalist, and a World Cup champion before he turned 20.
Cubarsi this tournament looked so far ahead of his years. He looked so composed. He looked so good on the ball. He looked so good defensively. You would never think this guy's a teenager. In fact, if I had told you at the start of the tournament a Spain player would win Young Player of the Year, you would have said, oh, I'll put all my money on Yamal.
People are already comparing him to Carles Puyol's aggression, mixed with Gerard Piqué's composure, as if Barcelona somehow built both into one player. This wasn't a good tournament from a promising kid. This was the opening chapter of what might become the greatest defensive career the sport has ever seen.